just before he went abroad.
So we are going to begin with our second session. This session is going to give us detailed information about infrastructure in Mumbai, the real estate crisis, infrastructure challenges, transport and housing issues. This session is going to be chaired by Professor Sada Mohan, who is head of Department of Civics and Politics, University of Mumbai. And our first speaker is going to be Chandrashekar Prabhu sir, who was the former president of MADA and played an important role in framing policies regarding urban development. He's going to speak on affordable housing and the real estate crisis in Mumbai. And our second speaker is going to be Meenal Mapuskar, who is the assistant professor of political science at Kirti College. And she's going to speak on the road transport in Mumbai, the opportunities and challenges. So we'll begin our session too.
So welcome back after a small lunch break that we have had. I'm sure that both our speakers, well versed in their area of research, will keep you awake with their interesting presentation. I think you can have about 20 minutes each, followed by discussion, if it's okay. We have that much time, isn't it, people?
Yeah.
So we need to wind up by 3:30.
Yeah.
Okay, so 20 minutes each, followed by discussion. May I first call upon our housing expert, housing activist, Dr. Prabhu.
Am I supposed to wear this or something?
Could someone just help him with it?
Is it needed?
Is it required? Okay. Thank you for having me over. And as usual, I'm the chosen person to speak post-lunch. Because that's a speaker who speaks post-lunch is the safest of the lot, because everyone is supposed to have had a sumptuous lunch and instructions would be given to dim the lights and then you can always sleep. And you are not exclusive. They sleep in state legislatures, they sleep in parliaments, and point of orders get raised when they sleep in parliament, and there is one judgment given by the honorable speaker that you can speak but thou shalt not snore. So that so the mic which is right before you can catch your snoring, and that perhaps may be a bit embarrassing. So there are several thumb rules for a speaker when he's asked to speak post-lunch. A, he should be a bit provocative, so that, when I start provoking people, I can be at my provocative best, and that then starts to make you think. And provocation is a part that prompts or encourages research. So I would start off with a bit of provocation and then move further on to the subject, which in itself would be enough to startle you a bit. Though I must admit that the kind of subject that I've been given, 20 minutes is too short a time to speak, but I shall try and make it into bullet points. Now the provocative part. Provocative part is the initial note which came to me about Mumbai said that the population of Mumbai is increasing multifold. It is not. So the population of Mumbai has never increased in the past 10 years. In fact, it's been steady or decreasing in various portions. Population of MMR region has been increased. So Mumbai is not MMR region, mind you. And the only way to diffuse issues by politicians and academicians alike is to enlarge the scope so that the issue gets diffused automatically. So how do you enlarge the scope? Mumbai was fort. Fort was a place where the people came to work, the port was where they worked, and the limits of Mumbai originally was the island that was beyond the port. So the limit was Haji Ali, where Haji Ali would be today. That was Mumbai. Then it was extended, came Lord Hornby, who connected Worli and the other islands, and then Mumbai became a little larger than the fort, and then it extended itself to the Mahim and Sion. And so Mumbai was the island city of Mumbai, and that's it, period. That was Mumbai. Initially it was the fort, and then Mumbai extended itself to Worli, and then to Shivdi, and then to Parel, and then to Mahim, which were never called Mumbai. You just kept on extended the name of Mumbai onwards to convert that. Very few of you may know that in Mumbai Gazetteer there are series of debates about Kurla being a municipality prior to Mumbai municipality. So Kurla Municipal Corporation or municipality was in existence 16 years before the Mumbai Municipal Organization came into being. And Bandra municipality was in existence 8 years prior to Mumbai being. So Kurla and Bandra were in existence prior to Mumbai. But there was a move to merge both Bandra and Kurla into Mumbai. Bandra opposed. Kurla supported. Kurla wanted to merge itself into Mumbai, and the corporators decided to merge into Mumbai, but Mumbai Corporation didn't want Kurla to merge, but wanted Bandra to merge, and they spent 2.5 years debating on whether Kurla should be merged in Mumbai or Bandra should be merged in Mumbai. And then, of course, was the airport at Santa Cruz, which was outside the limit of Mumbai, was taken into Mumbai, and then Andheri came, and then Malad came, and then and then Dahisar and Borivali and so on. So when you want to diffuse an issue, extend the limits, which is what you do. And then now with Mumbai, you need someone to blame. So Mumbai's population is no more increasing. There is not too much of influx into Mumbai as used to be 100, maybe 20, 30, 40 years. So extend Mumbai into MMR region. So it's a typical politician's way of extending the scope of an area to make its problems more acute or more diluted, as the case may be, which is not the correct thing. So first let us define what we mean by Mumbai. Does Mumbai mean, surely enough the eastern and western suburbs have a reason to grudge the South Mumbai people, but demographically they've been there 200 years before you guys ever arrived. So they have a reason to be there, and they have a reason to be proud about being in South Mumbai. So needn't really be upset and write about the Sobo culture and all that. So these snide remarks don't really help. They don't help solve problems. They create problems. So having said this, the provocative part, I think, should end here. And let me start off with some statistical data on Mumbai. 7 million people live in slums. 2.5 million people live in old and dilapidated cest buildings, which are 19,800 earlier. Now they are 16,950. 7 million in slum, dilapidated buildings, 1.5 million people living in 105 MADA colonies built by the government, 15,000 people living in BIT chawls, and about 20,000 people living in BDD chawls, and 1 million people living in quarters allocated by their employers, whether it is government employees, whether it is railways, whether it is LIC, whether it is municipal corporation and so on. So whether it is police, the moment your job is over, you have to leave the house. So taking all these into being, if you were to ask one single question to all the residents of Mumbai as to, do you have adequate shelter or are you in the category of inadequate shelter? 98.2% would be in the category of inadequate shelter. How? 7 million slum dwellers, obviously inadequate. 2.5 million people living in old and dilapidated buildings, of which 85% having common toilets, and they need to ease themselves out not on the basis of when they feel like, but on the basis of when the toilet is available to them. You then 1 million people living in staff quarters who have to leave the staff quarters at the mercy of their employers or when they superannuate, in which case what was their house for 35-40 years suddenly becomes an alien place and they have to leave and go where no one really knows. Mada houses which were one room kitchen or at best one bedroom hall kitchen, that's what 90% of Mada houses are all in need of redevelopment, and they are in really bad condition. They need to be redeveloped, and the developers have taken their toll, and so they are into inadequate shelter. Even the remaining, that is 10% of people who have bought flats with the builders, have bought them when the family was small and they could afford a one-bedroom hall kitchen, and the children then grow. What is required is an additional bedroom, but that additional bedroom is never available, and so they lapse into inadequate shelter. So if you were to say adequate and inadequate, I'm sure a few living in APNC Road or few living in Kulaba having 2,500 square feet or something may perhaps call themselves in adequate shelter. A study of everyone likes to talk about Marine Drive. A study of 112 buildings in Marine Drive have shown us that the condition in which the Marine Drive residents live is worse than the chawls of Girgam or Kalba Devi. Why? Because the flat may be 1,000 square feet, but was taken by the grandfather or great-grandfather who had 2 children or 3 children, and each one was given 1 bedroom or half a bedroom or portion of the hall, and they in turn had 2-3 children. So 1,000 square feet flat would have anywhere between 16 or 18 people living in Marine Drive. So all this talk about, which the politicians make about Marine Drive people living in luxury is really not true, which there are so many more people living in those houses. There are stray examples of some families where 2 people living in a 2,500 square feet, but these are far and remote. So the situation is that every single person virtually in Mumbai is looking for a house, and that ratio would never be there anywhere in the city. And then what is affordable? According to government definitions and definitions all over the world, it is generally treated that 5 years annual income should, if you get a house which is 5 years of your annual income, or at the most outer limit 6 years of your annual income, then it is affordable. You can take loans and it can be serviced within whatever your income is, and then you go ahead. But 5 years annual income, if you put together, then I'm sure that 98% of the city's population cannot afford a house. The remotest and the cheapest possible house would either be in Dahisar or in perhaps Bandu. And even there the rate is between 12,000 and 15,000. Somewhere in the most godforsaken areas it could come down to 10,000. So a 600 or 700 square feet flat in the remotest of Mumbai's suburbs would be costing 65 lakhs or 70 lakhs. Divide that into 5 years income, your income should at least be 1.5 lakh or 1,25,000 per month to be able to afford a house in Dahisar or in Bhandup. If you can't afford that, and people earning 1 lakh or 1.5 lakh in the city would be just about a percentage or two of the city's population, which means Mumbai has 12 million people, of which just 2% can afford houses anywhere. The rest only have to dispose of what they have today and put in some extra and buy a house. That means no one can really afford, have enough money so that they can take a loan and service the loan and buy a house. That situation doesn't exist in Mumbai. And Mumbai perhaps is the only city anywhere in India and perhaps in the world where this situation is so acute. Now, given this situation, what are the solutions that we are trying to bring in? For every single problem, our solution is very simple: increase the FSI. So Mumbai suburb had 1 FSI. It was increased. Chembur is an ideal example. 0.5 FSI was increased to 1, was increased to 1.5, was increased to 2, then was increased to 2.7. Today it is 3.2. That means a Chembur over 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 one more Chembur. 6 times Chembur would go one above the other, with the refineries belching out whatever toxins and more people living there breathing the same air. And that becomes our solution. Is that really our solution? Is increasing FSI going to solve the city's problem? The answer is a broad no, but the government doesn't seem to be understanding. And one always then hopes, when one government doesn't understand, one feels, oh, if this goes and some new government comes, they would understand. Then the new government comes and you start all over again trying to explain to them, and then they don't understand. Then you say, okay, now they go, and the earlier one may come and may perhaps understand. So you kind of get into this circle of thinking in terms of changing governments for your solution, for the problem for which you have solution, but no one wants to attempt it, because the entire system is driven by a vicious circle where we have created a new kind of animal called the developer, and it's the developer who controls everything, and he decides what is to be done, he decides who should do what, he controls the political system. There used to be a time when there were no developers. The first cooperative housing society in Mumbai came in 1910. It was the Saraswat Cooperative Housing Society on Laburnum Road, where Mahatma Gandhi's house is on one side at Mani Bhavan. Down the lane is the Saraswat Cooperative Housing Society, which still continues to stand 108 years down the line. It's still there. Then came Talmakiwadi, then came the Parsi colonies, which were all colonies between 1910 and 1965 or 1970, were initiatives taken by people who needed to get a house, went and approached the landlord, bought the place, went and approached a funding agency, HUDCO in specific, and sometimes banks as well. And then they funded an effort, appointed an architect, got plans approved, appointed a contractor, got the things done, contributed the money, got into the houses and paid their installment for 20 years. That's how Mumbai grew between 1910 and 1970. So which means about 60 years Mumbai grew by initiative of the people and the need-driven growth. But then came prosperity, we got more money, we became lazy, we had 2 minutes noodles, we had dip instant tea, and we needed a house also. So our only example for a house was Sri Krishna going to Sudama and meeting him, and Sudama giving some pohas to Sri Krishna, and Sudama then goes back home, and lo and behold comes the house. So the new Sri Krishna is the builder, and the new Sudama is the residents of Mumbai, and you just hand over all that you have to the builder, give him a power of attorney, give him an irrevocable consent. Even when you take feras around the Agni for 7 times, there is still a divorce. But for a builder, an irrevocable consent has no divorce, no coming back, because builders don't need liberated people. That can only happen at homes and marriages, but they don't require. So the government succumbed to the pressure from the builders, and so initially the builders started off. The first builders were in Parle, which were a family called Paranspes who owned most of Parle. So they said, this is our land, so we will build on it and we will give you ready-made flats. You come and buy them, you get loans, and we will. That was a very crude form of developers, wherein the landlord themselves were developers. That was how it started initially. And then came in the professional developers, wherein he bought land, he built everything, and you just paid him and went in. And so they became rich, they started bribing the politicians. When the politicians felt that this is a good idea, politicians made their money out of corruption, and the developers became banks, wherein the politicians said, whatever money I got out of bribe, here you take, and every month just give me some sweet music. Said your lakh has now become 2 lakhs, so I get good sleep in the night. So the politicians' money got rolled through the developers. That was the first phase. First phase, developers made money and paid the politicians during elections. The second phase, the politicians lend money, banked their money, not in banks but with the developer, and the developer saw to it that this money increased. The third phase is that the politician realized that my money is being increased by this guy and I'm getting only a small percentage of that. So the politicians said, why don't I try being a developer? So politicians became developer. There were Benami developers with politicians' money. And then the fourth stage, then when politicians became the developers thought there's a threat. So the developers started becoming politicians. So now every political party has an MLA, has an MP, who are all developers. So the simple thing of raising money is give tickets to developers and they become your leaders. So the city gets led by developers, and it's a developer-driven economy. Call it global, call it international, call it what name you want. But the fact remains that when a developer comes, and today there are no lands. Whatever lands were available, the mill lands were sold, and they cornered all of them. And what remains now is redevelopment. So there too you give it to the redeveloper, give him extra area, give him more and more FSI. So he keeps on earning and you keep on remaining where you are. Now, that is what has made Mumbai the most unaffordable city anywhere in the world, where 96% of the population says that it cannot afford a house. I asked the Chief Secretary of the Government of Maharashtra, I said, you are the highest paid official in the state of Maharashtra. Your salary earlier was a lakh of rupees. Now, under the new pay commission, it may increase and go to even 2 lakhs. So 2 lakhs a month is 24 lakhs a year. 5 lakhs is 1 crore 25 lakhs. In 1 crore 25 lakhs, the area in which you live, can you even buy a garage in that price? Answer is no. So if the highest paid bureaucrat in this city or the highest paid manager in an urban bank cannot afford a house, who can afford? So what do you do when you're faced with this kind of a problem? Extend the boundaries. So Mumbai now becomes MMR. That means you go to Panvel, you go to Khopoli, you go to Karjat and say Mumbai mein ghar diya na. So the best way when you fail and you have no way in which you can solve the problem is to extend the boundary. So what happened earlier, extension of boundary from Fort to Haji Ali and to Parel and to Sion and then Bandra and Kurla and so on. So you postpone your problems by extending the limits of the city and just keep on extending the limits till the time the whole state will be your. Now they have gone further. Now MMR is no more. Now they want to link between Pune and Mumbai. So even those areas between, and then they want to link Pune and Nasik, and then they want to link Nasik and Mumbai, and then that becomes the golden triangle. So keep on extending and make people dream more and give them no solutions. So everyone, all the younger generation keeps on dreaming that now I will get a house. Where is your house? In Vasai. But now you will say MMR. Means you have to, the moment you put Mumbai, you feel a bit happy. It's like a blood pressure tablet which you've taken. And you feel happy that you have named it Mumbai. So it is Vasai, it's still Mumbai. It is Virar, it's still Mumbai. It's Mira Bhainder, it's still Mumbai. It's Panvel, it's still Mumbai. It's Thane, it's still Mumbai because it's part of MMR. So extend your boundaries and call it Mumbai, and then all your problem gets solved. That's how the government looks at things. That's not how we look at it. There are solutions. There are solutions to the city's problem. The solutions don't come out of using FSI as a tool, but the solutions come out of looking at people's needs and using the needs as tools. So if in a building there are 50 families living, the 50 families, is my time over? Okay. If there are 50 families living, if the 50 families have to be accommodated, then all you need is change the tool. Instead of giving more FSI, say that there is no FSI. Say that we link the growth to the number of people. De-link the FSI and link it to what you call density. So continuing the density to be the same. If I am living with my family in a one-room kitchen, my family comprises of 4 people. If I continue to live in 2-room kitchen, even then the pressure on infrastructure is the same. If I live in a 3-room kitchen, even then my children require the same school, the same college, the same road. That doesn't change. So infrastructure doesn't change with increased FSI. Infrastructure changes with increased densities. So when you de-link FSI from the whole gamut of urban development and link it to densities, that is a way where we can